Welcome back to my underground lair. So, as we were talking about last time, the president right now, and in the course of the text we're talking about, Andrew Johnson is getting impeached. Why is he getting impeached? Because he is basically trying to stand in front of all of the Reconstruction acts that Congress is trying to put forth. He is opposed to radical Reconstruction because he feels that the society that's being altered and rebuilt does not have a say in what is happening to it. So he is vetoing laws that the Congress is putting forth. Congress is overturning his vetoes, and then he gets impeached. And that was the peak of this conflict. So after his impeachment, he is not removed from office, and instead, essentially, Congress just nullifies the president. It's one of the few times in history where the president has kind of been sidelined by the other two branches of government. So Johnson stays in office until the end of his term in March 1869. So, who is the next candidate to step forth? Well, the Republicans don't nominate him. Again, they don't nominate Johnson. Instead, the Republicans put forth a new candidate, a good old Civil War hero in the form of Ulysses S. Grant. And when Ulysses S. Grant comes in, famous Union general, the Congress puts the 15th Amendment up. And the thing is, the Republicans have managed to take control of most of the new state governments that are coming into the Union. So, states like South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Georgia, these states now have Republican-run governments. Why? Well, all of these new voters. When the slaves were freed, you had the 13th Amendment, which banned slavery. Then you had the 14th Amendment, which said that all of these new freed people, if they were born in this country, then they had all the rights of American citizens. Well, that includes the vote. Well, a lot of southern states were trying to block that vote by putting in new black codes. Well, the now Republican-controlled Congress puts forth the 15th Amendment. The 15th Amendment guarantees voting rights. Guarantees voting rights and certain other civil rights to African Americans. It basically says you cannot deny people the right to do X, Y, and Z. So they won. So African Americans finally, definitively won the right to vote. The problem is, as we'll discuss in later videos in a little bit more detail, the South was trying to find ways to kind of get around these amendments, to get around these sort of so-called, equal rights acts. So as we're going through this, let's just talk a little bit more about the South specifically during Reconstruction. And with the passage of the 14th and 15th Amendment, it seemed like you really had this huge step forward in equal rights. You even had African Americans in government. You had black representatives in the House of Representatives. You had a few black senators. You even had a couple of states have their first ever African American governors. It was this huge thing. And then you had lots of people immigrating from the North to the South and, setting up new businesses because it was cheaper, also wanting to help reform society, all these cool things. And then, of course, you have some who are just trying to make a buck. And that's where you have the carpetbaggers. A lot of Southerners will speak very derisively of these so-called carpetbaggers because they believe they were just corrupt Northern merchants trying to take advantage of a weakened South. So even though the war was over, even though so much progress had been made with these new amendments towards healing, you still have this great divide.